In today's video, we are jumping back into the Fisk Superhero Mod to check out a new and updated hero pack, with some unique heroes and villains, each with their own powers and abilities, and some of the best looking suits I've seen in a hero pack. So let's just jump straight into it. And we are back once again with another hero pack video. And despite this hero pack being relatively new and only having a handful of suits, the detail in some of these suits is pretty insane. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So to start, we're going to be checking out Rorschach right here, and you can already tell with the mask and everything how cool this is going to be. And I know for a fact that I've definitely seen a Rorschach before in another hero pack, but I'm like 90% sure that the mask in that one definitely did not move like this one. Like, look at that, all the different shapes and everything. And on top of that, we get all the amazing like 3D layers right here of the trench coat, even got like his little like tie thingy sticking out right there as well. So let's go ahead and throw this on, and you can see when we are wearing this suit, the mask does continue to change and all that good stuff. And I will say, having like the 3D effect on all these different like layers on the skin just looks so good. Like, it really makes a difference. So if we actually go ahead and hover over the chest plate right here, you can see that when we're wearing the full set, we become the detective, as well as a nice little list of like buffs that we get. So 85.2% damage reduction, we have 6 punch damage, jump height, full resistant, and then 30% sprint speed, which, considering that Rorschach isn't on the same level as like Superman or anything like that, I mean, you know, realistically, he's just a really angry crime fighter. So having the perks right there means that he can actually keep up with a lot of different heroes. But let's go ahead and get into some of the abilities this guy has. And starting with Rorschach's first ability is the flamethrower right there, which if we hold that down, you'll see that we actually bring out like a lighter as well as like a little can. And then when we are using this, there is a little bit of a cooldown. There you go. And even in the top left where the abilities are, is crossed out, so you know not to use it. And the range on this ability is actually pretty decent as well. So if I stand all the way back here, you're still going to get a decent amount of reach right there. And honestly, just having like a flamethrower in your face like this, I mean, it's going to pretty much blind whoever you're fighting. Well, that is until, you know, it runs out. In terms of getting around the city as Rorschach, of course, he does have a grappling hook. So if we press that, you can see that this thing is actually modeled really well. It looks super sick. I don't think I've seen this model before in a hero pack, so, you know, I might be wrong on that, but this does look very cool. And you might have realized with the ability list that some of them are actually ticked off, which basically means that whilst we do have the grappling hook out, we won't actually be able to use those abilities. So it's a nice little reminder not to use them. But very similar to Batman's grappling hook, we can just hit that, and there we go right there. So it's a really good way of getting around the city. And with Rorschach being a vigilante, of course, we get the classic sort of landing pose right there, looking absolutely awesome. And I haven't tested this before, but I'm not sure if this actually does damage if we actually use it against people. Let's have a look here. Nope, it doesn't. We just fly right through them. But either way, it is super nice to actually get around the city like this. You can see the model even changes every time we use it when it refreshes. And just flying around the city with this thing at nighttime is pretty damn sweet. Like, if you've seen the movie, like, this guy is not to be messed with. So if we go ahead and put away the grappling hook, we can check out the kick ability right there. And unlike a lot of the other hero packs, the actual fighting animations that are in this pack are like completely custom made. Like, compared to just punching like I'm doing right now, like, let me show you what I mean. So let's say that these volunteers are actually criminals and you wanted to kick one of them. We go ahead and press that. And there we go right there. So there's actually like a little sound effect and a little animation every time you use this. And realistically, you could actually sprint and use this at the same time if you wanted to for that extra damage. And don't worry, because when it actually comes to fighting animations, these two suits behind me have an absolute ton of them. So alongside the grappling hook, the kick, the flamethrower, all those little gadgets, we also get one more gadget. And if you know Rorschach, you'll definitely know that he's a little bit dramatic, we'll say. Just, you know, a tiny bit. So if we go ahead and equip the item, it'll actually bring out a book and quill right here, and listen to this.
October 12th, 1985.
So if you want it to be really dramatic, like, this is definitely the best way to go. And whilst we do actually have the book and quill active, we can actually take notes right here. So if you really wanted to get into character, you can actually just take some detective notes if you really wanted to. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of possibilities when it comes to playing this guy. And yeah, you can never go wrong with having characters from Watchmen in these hero packs. Like, they're definitely not done enough, but when they're done, they are done seriously well. So skipping this guy right here, we're going to be moving on to Daredevil. He's got the 3D horns right there, and it almost looks like a very comic accurate suit, you know, like with all the different shadows and stuff like that. And on the suit, we even have like a 3D render of the billy clubs right there. So let's go ahead and throw this on. And when you're wearing the Daredevil suit, you might realize that nothing's too crazy in third person, but it's when we're actually in first person that we get this insane like looking overlay right here, which definitely makes sense considering that Daredevil can't really, you know, see too well. But before we go over some of the abilities right there, I will say some of the passive abilities we get as Daredevil is really cool. So for example, we can sprint pretty damn quick, and then every time we jump, we actually do like a little flip right there, very similar to like the Spidey suits. But if you actually try and take off the mask with the right shift button, you actually get almost like this sonar ability going off like that. So if I go ahead and do that in first person right here, you'll see that it does actually highlight every entity that's nearby. So it says Villager 11, Villager 20, Villager 10, Villager 20. And in the middle of the screen, there'll almost be like this compass looking thing, which will actually guide you to where the players are. So you can see right here, as I'm turning it, it's going to line up absolutely perfectly with that villager right there. And I think that this is a really sweet effect. Like, if you don't know where somebody is like too well, like this almost works as like him having super hearing. So, you know, you can figure out exactly where they are. And then if we press that again, it just shuts right off. So let's get into some of these animated fighting moves right here. The first one being a back kick, which if we go press that, there you go. We do like a little backflip as well as, you know, kicking them as we do it, which does actually do damage. If I press it right here, there you go. It does a little bit of knockback to them. But the top ability actually switches when we engage the sprint right here. So it goes from the backwards kick to the devil's kick when we initiate sprint, which as you can see is definitely a little bit of a step up compared to the other one. We have the jump kick, which we just hold down, press jump. There we go, just like that. But then we also have the heightened sense, which is what's going to act as Daredevil's own version of slow-mo right here, as you can see. And this is where you can really see some of the animations like popping off. See if I press that, look at this. Like, that is insane. But then the final ability we get as Daredevil is to toggle the weapons, which are those two billy clubs that I mentioned earlier. And you can see that we actually hold one in each hand. And we can use these in a very similar style to the Spider-Man suit, so we can actually just web zip around, or, you know, grapple zip, I should say, as well as still being able to use some of the fighting moves. We can even throw the billy clubs right here, just like that. They have their own little animation. It just like flies around. But with these billy clubs just, you know, already being pretty damaging on their own, we have an option to switch the weapons. So we can actually put them together just like that. So we actually have a bit more of like a staff weapon right here. And then the third state is actually to have them as nunchucks. Look at this. And whilst we do have them in their nunchuck form right here, we do get given a unique ability, which is the spin, which basically just makes you fling these nunchucks around just like this, which I'm not actually too sure. Yeah, it definitely does do damage. Okay, so it's like an area of attack type effect. So if you're in a crowd and you want to get out of there, I would definitely recommend these nunchucks right here. And you might have already noticed that little icon in the top right. And if you know the mod quite well, you'll know that that little icon basically means that we can go ahead and actually use these to swing around with. And again, very similar to Spider-Man, we are going to be able to get all the different animations like that. So yeah, definitely a comic accurate Daredevil right here with all the different abilities. The blindness thingy is really, really sweet. And of course, having the perk to swing around the city as well. And maybe you're thinking that the red suit isn't for you, which is where they actually add in a different variant. So we've actually got the black suit right here, which is pretty much the exact same, but just everything inverted. And yeah, this one is definitely a little bit more menacing if you were to fight this dude. So after checking out Daredevil right here, it's only right in checking out Bullseye right here. And look at this suit. Like, this suit looks so sick, especially with like the Bullseye logo right there on the top of the head. You've got all the 3D parts on the belt. And yeah, I haven't actually read too many Daredevil comics, as anytime I actually think about this character, it's the one from the original film. So don't judge me on that. So let's go ahead and throw this on. And as expected with this character, a lot of his abilities is to do with, you know, throwing stuff. And to help you have aim just like Bullseye, we can go ahead and use the first ability, which again is going to act as your sort of slow motion effect, which will definitely help in you tracking anybody that you're throwing stuff at, such as the knives right here. There we go. We also have the ability to throw cards, which, you know, I just missed, so I'm definitely not skilled enough to play this dude. And just like Daredevil having the acrobatics, Bullseye definitely has the same thing, so you can do like little flips here and there. And you can see that when we're wearing the full set, we do have an adamantium lace spine and as well as perfect aim, which, yep, we won't talk about me just missing that playing card. But with Bullseye, we can actually go ahead and take off the mask, which you can see we have the same logo on our forehead right there, as well as having the classic bald head right here. And you might have seen that some of the abilities are already crossed out, especially that one at the top, which is just to throw stuff, which if I actually go ahead and grab any block right here, that will actually become available. So you can throw pretty much anything that you can get your hands on. And that goes for pretty much anything, regardless if it's a block or actually an item right here. So you can still throw any item that you want. But yeah, I'm really not sure how to get the G ability, which is to spit out a broken tooth. I'm not sure how to actually get that to work, but if you do know how to use that ability, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But where I think this Hero Pack's Bullseye comes into action is the actual equipment list right here. So we have the choice between a baseball, we have one of the Electro daggers right here, and then we also have a sniper. So just like before, we are actually able to throw these baseballs just like that. We have the Electro dagger right here, which looks really, really sweet. Like, I love the modeling on this thing. And again, we could just throw that at these guys. And then finally, we have the sniper itself, which can be fired normally. But realistically, you're going to want to crouch, hold the same button, and there we go. The actual reticle for this is a bit big, but either way, it is the classic Bullseye logo right here. So just make sure that this is on their head, and you're pretty much always good to go. And yeah, it's really nice to actually see Bullseye in a hero pack. I don't think I've ever seen him in any other hero pack either. And the abilities that he has with all the throwing stuff, especially like the items or the random blocks, like that is just so good. Yeah, definitely need to read more comics on that guy though, for sure. So last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Freeze right there. And despite the suit not looking too great when it's actually on the mannequin, I've definitely saved the best suit till last because, I mean, just check this out. I mean, just look at this. Like, this is so sick. You've even got like the cryo tanks on the back that are like puffing out like the ice right there. Like, this is so well made. And again, with the insane like shoulder pads, the 3D layers, even like the thing on his chest right there. Yeah, this suit is definitely the best in the hero pack so far, I will say. So let's go over some of Mr. Freeze's abilities right here, starting with the ice beam. And before you even try out the ice beam, you'll see that every time we actually go near anybody, they are actually going to get like a frozen effect. So before you've even like raised your weapon or anything, you're already going to be damaging people as soon as they come near you. But going ahead and using that ice beam right there, there you go, right there. The effects on this are so cool. You've got like the snow effects every time it makes contact with the block. And because it is extremely powerful, it does have a little bit of a cooldown. We get the classic freeze grenades right here, which we go ahead and throw at the floor. And that's pretty much just going to ice over anything that's nearby. And realistically, you could probably use these grenades to just completely ice over the entire city if you wanted to. But yeah, on impact, they are going to do a little bit of damage to the people that you're throwing them at. And that in conjunction with actually just standing nearby these guys, like, yeah, they really don't stand a chance. And being Mr. Freeze does mean that you are going to walk a little bit slower and you're not actually really going to be able to sprint anywhere. Like, this is me going full sprint right here. But if you've played any of the Arkham games, you know that this guy is actually pretty terrifying to go against, especially since he just decides to slow walk everywhere. So we have the Ice Blast ability, which is like almost like a souped up version of that first one that we checked out. And this one does have a much longer cooldown, as you can see right there, compared to the bottom one. And then Mr. Freeze's last ability is just to simply aim. And then this is where you can actually choose which target you want to fire at. So let's say this guy right here, and you'll just shoot a small projectile just like that. And a nice little bonus, every time you walk over water, you are going to have like the Frostwalker enchantment right there. So you're basically just going to freeze any type of water that you're near. But yeah, this suit is just so well made. Like, this being in a hero pack is pretty insane. Like, I'd expect this to be in like a Batman model or something like that, but I'm definitely a huge fan of this suit. So that right there is going to cut it for the suits in this hero pack so far. I'm pretty sure they're working on an update pretty soon to add a bunch more characters, and I'm pretty certain those characters are going to be just as awesome as the ones that we checked out today. So if you enjoyed this short showcase on this hero pack, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, you know, all the classic YouTube stuff. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.
Bye.